Right, welcome back grade 12s. We are looking now at question 5 and 6 from your CAT Theory September 2020 paper. Ready? Let's go. Okay, so now that we're looking at question number 5, this dealt with internet and network technologies. So looking at everything from your networks, your LANs, WANs, all these different items. So let's go through the paper, let's see what they were asking you and the kinds of answers that they actually wanted and why they wanted those. I think it's very important that you understand that. So the first one, 5.1, mentioned the following, or asked the following: state 2 factors that should be carefully considered when choosing an ISP. Now remember what ISP stands for. That's your internet service provider. It is a company that is offering the service, providing you with the service of the internet. Now I mentioned in the previous video, we chatted about shaped, unshaped, capped and uncapped data. So when you do purchase an internet contract from a particular company, these are the 4 factors that you want to look at. Is the line going to be shaped? In other words, are they going to prioritize certain types of internet usage? For example, browsing the internet versus downloading. Are they going to throttle you at times? Grab you by the neck and just throttle that data. Okay. Capped and uncapped. Are you going to have a limit to the amount of data you can use per month? Are you going to have an unlimited usage on that? So these are the factors that you need to consider. So they just mentioned here, they want 2 factors, so you can use any of those. They do give a couple of others in terms of what's the network coverage that the ISP has, what type of bandwidth are you going to be getting, is it a stable connection? So here you consider things like, well, are you going to go with a Wi-Fi connection or a physical ADSL line or a fiber line? Okay, your physical lines are going to be more stable than Wi-Fi. But yeah, it's entirely up to you. It depends where you are in terms of your region as well. All right, next one, 5.2, give 2 limitations of an ADSL connection. Now, because it's a physical line, your ADSL is a physical line. This means you can't move it around. So if you want to move from your house to maybe somewhere else, and you want to use the internet there as well, I'm sorry, but you're not going to be able to use it there. You're going to have to get one of those routers or something else, but you can't physically pull the line out of the ground. Okay, you're going to break it, it's done, you cannot move it. So that's the first thing, there's a lack of portability. And then secondly, it can be expensive, and there may not even be ADSL in your area. Now some of you know about this when it comes to fiber. They tell you fiber is coming to your area, and a year later you're still waiting for fiber to come to your area. Some of you have seen the guys dig those trenches and put those boxes in your area. Even in front of your house, those are the fiber lines, and they still tell you you have no fiber. So yeah, just check if it's in your area, there's no portability on it, and it can be expensive. Number 3, give us a little picture. It just said study the internet package, and this one said that you get 30 gigs of data per month, but it is shaped. Okay, I'm not going to go into that because I've already spoken about shaped, unshaped, capped, and uncapped. Okay, 5.3.2 says give the common term used when an internet service provider slows down your internet when the download is quite big. We know that one already, that is our throttling. Okay, so that sorts that out. Then 5.4. This was an interesting term. Some of you know this, some of you don't. Some of you know it as a different term. So they say learners may be clickjacked when browsing a social media website. Explain the term clickjacking.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
So I just want to go into what they are saying clickjacking is. So they're saying clickjacking is when users are tricked into clicking on an item. So when you're going through a website, when you're going through Facebook or any one of these social medias, you're scrolling through and there's something that pops up, there's some special on some item and you're like, oh, this is cheap. And what do? You click on it and you've been clickjacked. Okay, so it takes you to a totally different website, and the idea is to get you out of that and to their particular site. So they do give another one as well. They say clickjacking may direct users to a fake website. Okay, so similar to your farming, but the idea is to get you to click on that particular item and move you somewhere else. All right, next one. This is the one that asked the question about what type of internet connection uses light. Okay, light to transmit data. So I'm just going to change the lighting here. Yes, it uses light, and that is fiber optics. Fiber optics uses light to transmit data. So it's not a case of you now having like physical wires. You have a physical wire running, but inside of that, it's actually glass that transmits light. So fiber optic cables, I'll show you a picture here. They are very thin, they are very brittle as well, so you can easily take it and break it. And this is why they bury them quite deep underground to keep them safe, but very, very fast in terms of transmitting data. All right, next one. They say many companies use video conferencing to communicate with each other over a network. A person regularly experiences poor quality in their video conferencing. All right, give them two solutions. Now, obviously, number one, use a proper camera. Okay, maybe that's the problem. The next one could be some sort of problem in the internet connection. This is why I'm sure you've seen on the news when they interview people and their internet connection isn't that good. Sometimes they end up looking like a mosaic picture with all these blocks. Other times, what happens? They end up looking like one of these Chinese movies, okay, where you speak and the words flow in afterwards. I know you've seen those things. So those are some of the problems. Then they say they want you to explain what bandwidth means. So I'm just going to give you their definition. They say bandwidth refers to the total amount of data that can be transferred from one point to another in a given period. So it's the total amount of data that you have available. Now, when you go and get an internet connection, they'll tell you this is a 10 megabits per second line. In other words, 10 megabits can be transferred per second from point A through to point B. That would be your bandwidth. Now, when you are going onto websites, when you are downloading, you are using pieces of that bandwidth. And if they tell you you are using the maximum bandwidth, it means you are using all of that data per second to download, upload, whatever you are doing. Please bear in mind, those of you who do go for internet connections, there is a difference between download speed and your upload speed. Download being obviously you watching things, you downloading things to your PC, browsing, that's all downloading. Uploading, when we are sending files from our PC to the internet, that usually has a different speed. So just understand the difference between that. Right, so let's go on to question number 6. Okay, question 6 dealt with information management. In fact, I'm going to do 6 and 7. Information management. Now, they just wanted to know the difference between data capturing and data processing. So when we capture data, we are simply typing it in. So we type in the person's name, address, email address, cell phone number, all those things. When we begin to process the data, we are taking those raw facts and we're turning it into something meaningful. So we pull a query from it, we draw a chart from it, we put information or draw information from those raw facts. Okay, that's the difference. Then they speak about or ask about the difference between a survey and an interview. Now, when you are in an interview, you obviously like this, face to face, I'm asking you, what is your name? And you'll tell me, my name is John. Right, John, so why are you applying for the job? And John will say, I have no idea, but I'm here anyway. Okay, so that's an interview. Face-to-face interaction, you are asking the person questions and you are evaluating them based on their answers. A survey is where you're just looking to get data. So you are at Baywest and you are conducting a survey to find out how many people go to Woolworths or how many people go to whichever shop. So that is a survey. You then get that data and you then draw information from that. I have explained information overload in another video, so I'm not going to go through that again. Then this is one that's very interesting. How do you know when a website or web page is authentic and reliable. Now, the first thing, when you look at a website and it starts with HTTP, you want to go to websites that have HTTPS because it means it's extra security on that site. You want to look for ones that in the corner, it has a little lock icon as well to show you again that there is extra security, right? So those are some of the things that you do want to look out for. They mention also that the information that's provided on the site, that it's up to date. You know, you don't want to go to a site that's 3 years out of date, but they're talking about things regarding today, right? So you want to make sure that they're up to date. The author's name is there. You want to make sure that it has been updated regularly. Those are some of the things to look at. And that when the person, if there's some sort of article, there should be a reference made to the sources that this person got their information from. Right, the next one, give 2 potential advantages of using queries instead of filters. Okay, folks, there's a big difference between a query and a filter. A filter is when we are sorting data. So you've got all the names of the learners inside of a school, right? And you're sorting it alphabetically. You're sorting it A to Z. You're sorting it according to fees paid. Though that's all well and good, but you haven't actually drawn a lot of information from it. Now, when you pull a query, you're saying, okay, from all of this data of the learners, I would like to see a list of all the grade 12s who have paid their school fees and who attend school every single day. Now you are pulling a query. So that's the difference between your query and your filter, and your query will give you much better information, much more detailed info, and it'll give you exact info according to the query that you pull. Right. Then they ask why a bibliography should be added to a research report. Any research report you do in the world, you must have a bibliography because this shows where you got your information from. So when you say, yes, I believe this is the case according to some research, you can say, no, I got my information from that book, that page in the library, I got it from this particular website. So you're showing the sources that you consulted in order to draw up that report. Right, then question number 7, we look at social implications. What's the difference between a blog and a vlog? So what I'm doing here is similar to a vlog. It's a video online diary where I'm going to be chatting about myself or whatever topic I'm interested in, etc. A blog is an online diary, but it is in written form. So that would be a website, just text, pictures, a couple of things. But when I start doing it in video format, then it becomes a vlog. Right, next one, discuss 2 skills required by people who wish to follow a career in big data. Okay, so when we talk about big data, we're talking about massive amounts of data that people are going to be dealing with. So let's look at the answers. Number 1, analytical skills. So they mention here analytical problem-solving abilities to determine which data is relevant to a solution. So remember, you've got a ton of information. Maybe you've got all the data of people in the entire country or in your whole city. You need analytical skills to be able to sift through that data for what you need. There needs to be creativity, right? The skills of mathematics and statistics skills, computer science, because programmers would use this, and then business skills, because through that, all of that data, you can see what is actually driving business. If you take an example like Baywest, and you conduct surveys to get data from everybody that's shopping there over a 6-month period, you can now take that data, because that's a lot of data. So that constitutes big data. And now the person who's going to deal with this needs to have analytical skills, like we're saying, creativity, maths, some computer science, depending on what they're going to do, to say, well, look, over a 6-month period, we've seen that people, based on the data, are going to these shops first. People are spending X amount of money. People navigate this way through the shops. So they're able to pull, from that big data, a whole lot of things, but you need certain skills if you're going to be going into that career path. The next one asks, what is an EULA agreement, or an end user license agreement? It's basically an agreement between you and the software company as to how you're going to use the software. So when you download iTunes, okay, You download iTunes, you download any software, you usually do what? You click I agree and you click next, 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 next. Yeah, you do realize that you've signed a legal document.
Say what?
By you saying I agree, you are saying that you agree to the terms in which that company allows you to use the software. So if they tell you it's a trial version and you shouldn't be sharing it, and you share it with people, and somehow they find out you are wrong, okay? So that's your EULA. Then a lot of what we do now is in e-learning, so they ask for the disadvantages of e-learning. So when it comes to that, first of all, people need access to it. They need data, they need an internet connection, they need hardware to get hold of all this e-learning. So if they don't have that immediately, those are part of the problems. They need electricity, they need a proper environment, all those things. So just think of what they need in order to access e-learning, and then just flip that around as disadvantages. Also, the interaction between the learner and the teacher, it is there, but it's just not the same. All right. And then they also mention things like feeling isolated because you're not in a class environment, and also health concerns because you're sitting in front of this PC or phone for hours on end watching lectures and classes, etc. And then the last one, describe the function of virtual assistant software. So it's a program software that's assisting you. How is it assisting you? Virtually, okay? Means it's assisting you on the computer. So the answer that they wanted was virtual assistant is an application program. Remember, an application is a program that performs a specific function that understands the natural language, voice, and commands. Let me give you something simple. Siri, okay? When you say to Siri, Siri, I would like to order a pizza. And then Siri says, yes, where would you like to order it from? And you say, okay, from Green Acres. And Siri says, right, all this type of thing. The only problem with that is these voice commands or these virtual assistants are usually based on American English. So when you say to Siri, Siri, I'd like to order a pizza, and then Siri says, order what? What would you like to do? And then you've got to change your accent, and you've got to, let me see if I can get this right. You have to round it off. So you have to say,
it's about to go down.
Siri, hi Siri, I'd like to order a pizza. And then Siri will respond, where would you like to order that pizza from? And you would say, I'd like to order it from Debonair's. Okay, do you see how I have to change my accent based on that? That's one of the downsides, but that's what a virtual assistant does. So hope this helps. This covers question 5, 6, and 7 of your September 2020 CAT theory paper.